Everything woke turns to shit, okay?
Welcome to No More Bullshit.
Hey, folks. Had a bad day yesterday. For those who watch my land videos, my puppy Allie got hit by a car and killed yesterday. So I fell asleep last night and woke up in the middle of the night. Haven't been able to get back to sleep. So I was going to do this, and it'll help take my mind off it a little bit. And I was going to do this anyway. Never got around to it. So I'm going to give my predictions on the election. Now, with my family, I've been telling them for months pretty much the same thing. But I thought there might be some people that were curious about, what I thought about what was going to happen. So let's go into. First, let's talk about the Senate because it's quicker. For months, I've been saying we're going to take 54 seats. Okay. I still think we're going to take 54 seats. And it's looking like there might be possibility for some outside chances to take some other seats. So let's talk about the main ones that everybody probably hears about on the news. Arizona. Don't believe all the poll bullshit. It's complete horse shit. That's going to flip to Republican. Kelly's going to lose. In Florida, and again, don't believe all the poll bullshit. Rubio is like 8 points ahead. There's no way Rubio's going to lose Florida. In fact, Florida is going to be massive Republican wave. Massive. They're going to get slaughtered, Democrats. DeSantis is going to win by like 15 points. So Florida's done as far as the Democrats. Democrats have already pulled all their money out of Florida. And Biden's heading down there because they're going to lose Miami-Dade for the first time in memory. They're possibly going to lose Miami-Dade by like 5 points. So, because of the Cuban population is pretty much completing the transition in Miami of going to Republican. So, there's that. Now, Georgia. Walker's going to win. That's it. I mean, it's a done deal. Again, the Democrat media and the liberal polls are trying to make it seem like, this thing's been over since after the two of them debated. Walker cleaned up the streets with. In fact, across the board, all these people, the governorships and Senate candidates that have debated, the Democrats have lost their ass. In Arizona, the woman there running for governor had tried a different tactic of, I'm not debating. Well, that ain't going over big anyway. She's a moron. So Kari Lake's going to win the governorship by a massive amount in Arizona. I think she's up by 11 points or something like that. Okay, so there's Arizona, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina. That's going to be a Republican hold. It's done. It's over. First of all, North Carolina tends to historically follow Florida. Now, that may change because the demographics of who's voting what has changed in Florida so much. But it's still going to be a Republican hold. What's happening there, if you don't follow this stuff, the Republican in the Senate, Burr, is retiring. And so it's an open race. So the Democrats, of course, think they got a chance. Well, they don't. So that one's going to be a hold. So that's not a swing state. That's the other thing they're doing is they call some of these swing states that really aren't swing states. Like, for instance, Ohio. Ohio's no longer a swing state. Ohio's a red state. J.D. Vance is going to win in the Senate in Ohio. So again, that's a hold. So the flip is going to. So far, we've got a Florida hold, a North Carolina hold, an Ohio hold, and then you've got Georgia flipping back to Republican. You've got Arizona flipping. Nevada is going to flip to Republican. The woman running there, that's the incumbent, Cortez Masto or whatever her name is. I hate these double names. I cannot fucking stand hyphenated names. But anyway, she didn't win the first time with 50% of the vote. She barely won. So the Hispanic vote there is swinging it way towards Republican because across the country, Hispanics have been moving over to Republican. So that's going to be a pickup. So you got a pickup in Arizona, a pickup in Georgia, and a pickup in Nevada. So now we're at 53 if they hold everything else that they are supposed to hold. They've I don't know if they're still saying it, but they were saying that Iowa was a swing state. It's not. Grassley is going to win. He might win by less of a margin because he's so old. But so what? You know, he gets elected, even if he retires or something else happens during his next term, then they replace him with somebody. So it's not a big deal because the governor there, I believe, is also a Republican. So, in fact, I know she is. So there's that. Pennsylvania, the big one that everybody's talking about. Well, I'm sure you've seen all the news clips of Fetterman, but Fetterman was already going to lose before the debate. This just sealed the deal and is going to make it a bigger margin. Oz was going to win. It was a done deal. It's been a done deal for a couple, 3 weeks. So what happened originally was Oz was not running the greatest campaign. He's not. He's got celebrity from his past, but he's not. He's not like a real dynamic guy. But whatever the case, I mean, maybe some of the folks that live in Pennsylvania can speak to that. I don't follow it that close that I'm going to pay attention to everything Oz says because I don't care. I care if he wins. That's all I care. He's a vote. So that's going to be a hold because, again, a Republican incumbent is retiring. Again, these are kind of like the Rhino-type Republicans that are retiring. Burr, I believe it's Toomey that's retiring. So what else have we got? We've got New Hampshire. New Hampshire, the polls have recently swung to where that's a pickup for Republicans. Again, just to refresh people's memory, or if they don't follow this stuff, that was a seat that was held by a Republican for a long time with what's her name? I can't remember her name. But anyway, whatever her name was, she made the mistake in 2016 of distancing herself from Donald Trump, and the two candidates, the candidates that did that in 2016 lost. She barely lost, but she lost. So then it went to this Democrat. Well, now she's having to run again, and it's not looking good for her. I had thought, originally what I had thought was Republicans pick up Arizona, they pick up New Hampshire, they pick up Georgia, and they pick up Nevada. So that would put the 54 that I was talking about. Okay, so those are the ones that pretty much should be in the bank. The only one that, because New Hampshire is the way they are, about the way people vote, you never know what these people are going to do. They're famous for having like this very independent streak in their thinking and their voting. And for a long time, they don't necessarily vote based on party. They vote a lot based on the issues. So there's that. Okay, so now you got some interesting ones, like you got Wisconsin. And Wisconsin, I mean, not Wisconsin. Well, yeah, let's talk about Wisconsin. That's going to be a hold. Johnson's going to win. It's not even close. Democrats have given up on Wisconsin. It's over. It's a done deal. So Wisconsin's going to be a hold. That was the other one I was forgetting about. Okay, so Washington. Surprisingly, Patty Murray, who I've always thought looked like an ugly man, she's in a very tight race. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, and if the wave of Republicans taking over because of everything we all live every day under Biden and the woke left. I don't have to go into all of that. You all know what it is: gas prices and so on and so on and so on. I mean, it's killing me, personally. I mean, it's eating up a lot of my cash. So, on the property. So, that's a possibility of a pickup. That would put you at 55. Colorado, somebody mentioned on a news clip I just watched a little while ago. I haven't been following Colorado because I don't expect that to go. That would be if Colorado goes, then it's going to be a really fucking bad night. And it's already going to be a really bad night for Democrats, but it's really going to be a fucking bad night. All right, so that's the Senate. I think we're going to get 54, possibly 55, or if it goes really, really, really bad, maybe 56 with with Colorado. All right, the House. Now, the House, when I study this stuff, I don't, the way I try to figure out what's going to happen on these things is the Senate and the president is a statewide election, so you have to understand the overall makeup of the state and how the people think, what they care about, all that kind of stuff, and that's kind of how I do it. Well, when it comes down to individual Congress people, I'm one guy who does this as a hobby. Okay, so I don't have all this elaborate data collection and analysis and whatever. I don't do it that way. But what I do know is history. And so what I do is I step back from I don't care which individual one wins or doesn't win. Again, I'm a big picture guy. How many votes do we have? Okay. Now, the only thing I care about the House specifically about a congressional district is my own representative. Other than that, I care about the big picture. So, and when I moved to East Texas, I purposely picked an area that was heavy Republican. So that's not even a question what's going to happen in my congressional district. So what happens historically again, I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence. Some people follow this, some people don't. Some people know this, some people don't. Some people watch the news and they talk about this. But it's very rare that in a midterm election, which is midterm of the presidency, so 2 years into every presidency, so of the 4-year cycle, so you've got a midterm each term, right? So it'd be the second year of a presidency and the 6th year of a presidency. We're in the second year. Well, it's been a disaster under this jackass. So what I look at with that is, I look at it for everything with some of these things, but in terms of the House, historically, whoever's in the presidency loses seats to some degree in the midterm. Now, there are exceptions to that, like, for instance, George W. Bush gained seats in 2002, but that was right after 9/11, and his popularity was very high because of what he said at the World Trade Center and all of that, and that was emotions were high, so he had a high popularity rate and won seats. Bill Clinton, I believe, won seats in his second midterm. In his first midterm, he lost his ass. Ronald Reagan even lost seats in his midterms. So you go back and you look, on average, it's about 40 seats, 35 to 40 seats in an average. You got like nothing major happening, no huge popularity drop in the presidency, which is miraculous because Trump supposedly was so unpopular, but he only lost 40 seats. So that would be an average. So he had an average loss. It wasn't a wave. All right. Now, one of the key ones was in 2009, when Obama forced through Obamacare. People didn't like that shit. And he lost 63 seats in the midterm in 2010. Then he continued to lose seats every election after that. And then, ultimately lost the Senate and everything else. But in the House, he lost 63 seats in 2010. So that was just one thing. Now, people still had the economy because of the financial crash, but they weren't blaming him completely for that because it happened under Bush. So even though he showed the early stages of his bullshit about, this is the new normal. I hate that shit. New normal. Bullshit. This country's got a long history. We don't have suddenly we got to get used to mediocrity. All right, that's a crock of shit. I hope after this election the Democrats are so fucking blasted from electorally that we can just tell all these fucking cocksuckers to go fucking climb back under whatever woke crazy rock that came out of, which I think is going to happen. Okay, so that was one thing it was big, the healthcare system, but he lost 63 seats. Okay, so a couple weeks ago, I was hearing people saying, 35, 40 seats. Well, that's average. Biden's real approval rating, no matter what these assholes are saying in the polls, is in the 30s. Okay? They're trying to say, he's got a real clear politics average has him at 43. Bullshit. Gas prices are sky high. Diesel prices haven't come down, which is stupid because I don't know if most people probably don't know this, but diesel is a byproduct of making gas. So how you run short of diesel, I have no fucking clue. Anyway, eggs, carton of eggs, $6 or whatever it is. I know a package of ground chuck hamburger, massively expensive. Usually a big pack would cost me maybe $12. Now it's $12 for the little pack. So, and everything else that everybody knows about with that. So I'm not going to go into all those details. But, so you got all that going on, plus the woke agenda in general. And the fact that the woke agenda is causing all this crap. So I've said for a long time, and this wasn't with data, this was just my gut feeling, it's going to be between 60 and 70 seats in the House that are going to go Republican. And I still say that. We're going to win seats. I say we, I'm not a Republican, but our side, if you will, is going to win seats that people didn't even think were competitive. Okay? I won't get into them too much, but the governorships are going to drag a lot of fucking people across and the senator races are going to drag a lot of down ballot races across the finish line because you're not going to go vote. Someplace like New Hampshire, they may vote for one party for governor and then another party for the Senate. A lot of places do that, but most places, the majority of states, that's not going to be the case. Most people vote all Republican, all Democrat, or whatever, all Libertarian, whatever it may be. Personally, I vote pretty much Republican, except for judges. I tend to vote Libertarian if there's Libertarian candidates for that, because I figured if you ever get in trouble, their tendency is going to lean towards not letting the government invade, kind of thing. So I figure 60 to 70 seats in the House, and I've said this for a long time, but now it's starting to look like it's possible in terms of the data. In the Senate, 54 to 55 seats. So there is no question in my mind that we're going to regain the House, regain the Senate, and now we're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to impeach Biden, so stop that crap. And on top of that, that would be a horrible idea, because then you've got Harris, and people go, "Well, impeach her too." Okay, impeach her. Now you got maybe a chance of this McCarthy guy, who I hope doesn't end up being Speaker, because I never have liked him. They need to find somebody else. But at least he'd be a Republican. But it's only temporary until they can hold an election to get another president. It's not a permanent thing. It's a temporary deal. So anyhow, by the way, I don't believe that's ever happened. So how that would work, who knows? In fact, I know it's never happened. But so the governorships, it's very possible that you could end up with about 32 governorships that are Republican, 18 that are Democrat. In New York, where my mother lives, it's looking like the Democrats going to lose there, and they're going to have their first Republican governor in 20 years. Now he's going to drag a lot of the House races across the finish line. Now you don't win in New York. You don't win governor or Senate or New York in general for president on a presidential election without New York City, which means they're not doing very good, because New York City's got so many people that it overrides the rest of the state, which tends to mostly vote Republican. Well, this time they're not getting enough numbers, and probably combined with the fact they've had a lot of people leave New York, and a lot of them leave New York City, that they're not gonna carry enough to keep the Republican out of the governorship. Now, do I think that means that Republicans are going to continually take over or maintain control in New York? No, I think they're going to win for this term. In Oregon, you've got a governor's race where it's looking like possibility they could have a Republican for the first time in 40, 50 years, whatever it's been. Because they're tired of all the Portland bullshit and all the woke crap. Imagine Portland going red. Not red across the board, but for the governorship at least. And there's some other states with that. So anyway, those are going to drag people across. Even the ones where they were probably going to win anyway, they're going to win by such a big margin that it's going to drag people across the line. Plus, in general, because we're starting to get data in on early voting, and even in Michigan. In Michigan, for those people I know from Michigan, Whitmer's going to lose. I know somebody in my group had said a couple weeks ago, "Oh, we're going to be stuck with Whitmer again." No, you're not. First of all, Michigan is notoriously bad for polling. If you think back to 2016, the Detroit Free Press called the race at 9:30 at night Eastern time for Hillary Clinton to win Michigan. Well, Hillary Clinton didn't win Michigan. And if you go back earlier in the primaries for the Democrats, They had Hillary Clinton win the primary in Michigan by 5 points. She lost to Bernie Sanders in Michigan. Bernie Sanders won in Michigan. So she lost to Donald Trump, and they got it wrong. She lost to Bernie Sanders, and they got it wrong. And her, I've only seen clips of it, but her debate performance was horrible. Now, my understanding is, again, this is a case where the woman running against her and earlier on was running not the greatest campaign, but she cleaned up her act in her campaign, and it's paid dividends. And also, what happens is the way that these polls, again, it's a fake thing the polls do. They always say, well, you're used to hearing this on the news. Well, when it get closer to the race, the race will tighten. That's a crock of shit. The race doesn't tighten all that much. It does tighten some, but it doesn't tighten the way they try to portray it. Like, you don't go from the one guy being up 10 points and then when you get a month out or 2 months out, then it goes down to where he's only up by 2 points. That's not the way it works most of the time. What happens is, prior to Labor Day, most of these people do registered voter polls, which means just if your voter registration, they pay for the voter registration rolls, so they know you're a registered voter, and they poll you. Okay, well, that doesn't mean you're going to vote. So then, what happens after Labor Day? They start polling likely voters, and there's a lot of technical shit that's involved with how to figure out whether somebody's a likely voter. But in a lot of places, they can get data on have you voted in the past. Do you vote every election? But you're a very likely voter. And so on and so on. So what happens is it switches. Well, the likely voters are more in tune with what's going on, and they're going to answer how they're going to vote. The registered voters that happened before Labor Day, they're not paying attention. Even if they're going to vote and they're a likely voter in reality, they're not paying attention yet. So they're just going to tell you, yeah, I'm going to vote for the Democrat, or I'm going to vote for the Republican, whoever they may be. When it gets down to actually, counting the people that are actually going to vote, that's when they're starting to pay attention. So it doesn't tighten. It's not like somebody necessarily change. Like, well, so there's people like me where you ask me who I'm going to vote for 6 months ago. I would have told you, and it's still going to be that on election day. I would have voted early, but I got to drive a half hour to minimum to go vote, and I don't feel like doing that. So I do have to make a trip to one place maybe today that's got where I can early vote, because we can vote anywhere in the county in early voting, and we've got early voting till November 4th, and it's only the 3rd. So I've got to go down and turn in the keys for my P.O. box in this town that I rented a P.O. box in temporarily. And just so happens I can early vote there. So I may do that. If not, I'll vote on election day. But anyway, there's that. And then there's other people that may say they're going to vote, when they're registered voters. They self-profess that they're going to vote, but there's no history of that, or they're in a demographic like they're younger people. Yeah, I'm going to vote. That's a famous one. They say, yeah, I'm going to vote for sure when they're asked that question, and then they don't go vote because there's a party that night or something, or whatever it is. So it's horse shit what they try to sell you because they know that most people don't follow this stuff. So they try to make it. That's why the Democrats try to think they can get away with just bold-faced lies that are easy enough with one little Google search to figure out that they're full of shit. Or there's somebody like Biden who's so far gone that he's running around talking about how his son died in Iraq when he didn't. He's how he got the student loan thing voted on, and he won the vote by a couple of votes. Got it through Congress, and it didn't. It was an executive order. So, anyway, that's the predictions. It's going to be probably 32 governorships, for Republicans. It's going to be 54, 55 Senate seats, most likely. It's going to be probably 60 to 70 seats gained in the House, based on what happens in history and so on and so on. You just don't have this low. You got what goes into all this stuff. You've got the low approval rating. You got the bad economy, and everybody blames Biden for it. You've got the woke agenda, and everybody blames that for the crime and all the other shit, including the economy. You got inflation, which is ridiculous across the board. You've got people that have not forgotten about the mandates for masks and all the COVID crap. So that's what's causing this. And why I say 60 to 70 again is because in Obama's case, people didn't like that he rammed through health care, but that was one thing. That was the only thing they blamed him for, basically. That's why he lost his ass that election. They liked him personally. I don't. Because I think he's an arrogant prick. I'm not going to get into it because I wish he would just go away. But the fact that he's out campaigning for people makes me happy. I hope he campaigns for everybody he can, because in the history of Obama campaigning for people, I can only think of one person ever that's actually won. Usually when he campaigns for somebody, they lose. Campaigned for Hillary Clinton, she lost. He didn't really campaign for Biden all that much. Hardly at all. Didn't endorse him until the very end. So, and Biden won. We, can't talk about that. But 2024 also for the presidency, expect Trump to announce that he's running right after the midterms are over, so probably next week. In fact, I saw an article on they're starting to leak that it's coming. They're starting to leak that they've been working on the preparation for where they're going to do it, how they're going to do it. Trump's been hinting at it for months. Most recently, he's flat out been saying, it looks like I'm going to have to do it again. So, get over the tweet crap. Get over the fucking personality crap with him. Number one, if he ran today, he'd win. So all that crap about that I hear people saying he can't win, that's bullshit. It doesn't matter who the Democrats run because they got nobody. But after this is the kind of situation, just like, again, going back to history, after Jimmy Carter fucked things so bad in the 70s, if Ross Perot hadn't run for president in 1992, George H.W. Bush would have got a second term, which would have been 16 years in a row without a Democrat winning. You're talking about a generational shift in who people are going to vote for and who's going to maintain power. So that's what's going to happen. So Trump's going to win. Get over the personality and understand that you can't sit there and go, well, I just wish he would do this. And it's not in his personality, number one. He's in his 70s. He's not going to change. So that's bullshit. Change the channel if you don't like what he's saying or what he's doing. On television or in his tweets or what the news is saying about him. Change the fucking channel, okay? Because it drives me nuts. His personality is why he was able to accomplish so much. It's why he was able to withstand the bullshit that most people would have cowered under. You can't have it both ways. If you want change, then shut the fuck up. It's that simple. Okay? Till next time.